Okay, this is Launch One with Mason Springer. I'm Mason Springer, and today we are joined with Daniel Parker from Mathews. And Daniel is doing a buck breakdown today. He shot a really cool buck here a few weeks ago, and I saw a picture of it on Instagram. And I'm like, man, I want to do a buck breakdown with this guy. So Daniel, what's the rundown here?
Man, it was a heck of a season. There's no doubt about that. I had a little property. Well, my buddy and I have a property just down the road from Matthews that we've been fortunate enough to hunt the past 5 years, and we've been working on it pretty dang hard past few years, just understanding it because we're in bluff country, so you really have to worry about wind direction and thermals. Um, and it all comes into play is something that I've been learning a lot. I mean, this year, I felt pretty darn confident we had the property dialed in and was able to make it happen. But this buck that I was after, he was the only one that I would shoot this year. Call him Tangle, and we have 3 years of history with him.
Wow.
Watched him as a 3 year old. He was just a mainframe 8 pointer, really pretty buck, just clean. And then as a 4 year old, he he messed up his left side. Um,
Yeah.
it was like a double beam, and he still had that palmated fork at the very end of his left side, but his brow tine was kind of like a straight up split. It was super odd. His right side was still the same,
Yeah.
um, but he broke that off like 2 weeks into the season last year, so that took him off the list. Because I was going to hunt him as a 4 year old, and so didn't go after him the rest of the season. We knew that he
Yeah.
survived. We found his shed to his good side. He had a 12-inch G2, and I think it was like a 7-inch G3. So, like, I
Yeah.
knew like that was going to be the buck that I wanted to chase the following year.
Yeah. And
So,
And you guys are in Wisconsin, right? Near Sparta?
yeah, yep, Western Wisconsin. We're like, if you stuck your finger right where Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin meet, we're 15 to 20 minutes from the Minnesota border right there.
Okay. Yeah. And what's the country like? Look there, big ag, big woods.
It's bluff country, so we get a little bit of both. There's a lot of ag, but there's also some big chunks of timber. Uh, Not a ton of public land directly around us. So it's with the ridge systems that we have. I mean, mature bucks are just a different animal. They know how to use those ridges to their advantage when it comes to traveling, just with thermals and wind. And um, it adds an extra element to tracking down these big bucks, and like finding them is one thing, but then hunting them on the right conditions is another. Because
Yeah.
you might have one wind direction, but um, you go sit up in the woods, and it's completely opposite because another ridge has a different elevation and it's causing the wind to swirl around it. Or if it's a light wind, you have thermals in the evening pulling your scent a certain direction. And
Yeah.
it's it took a few years for me to understand it because I'm from central Wisconsin where it's relatively flat.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah, new experience. So it sounds like you had some history with this buck and then broke off a tine, decided to wait another year. What was your strategy considering all this stuff about the new country that you're in? What was your strategy for taking him? Were you patterning him throughout the summer, or did he come in more closer to rut?
no, this I patterned him. So like based off the previous 2 years, he bachelored with the same 3 or 4 bucks in the same area 3 years in a row. Like, which it's kind of an odd spot. It's way at the front of our property, closest to the road. So it for me that's a little scary because anybody driving by could see him in the bachelor group that he was part of. So it
Yeah.
made me a little nervous, but he was he was using it probably 4 days a week, and majority, like 3 out of those 4 days, and this was like end of August, early September. Like 3 of those 4 days that he was coming by, it was in daylight.
Yeah.
So I had a pretty good pattern of them. I went and glassed the night before season opened, which was September 13th, I think it
Okay.
was. So I went the night before, and I stood at the farmer's house and I glassed for the last hour and a half, and I got to put eyes on him and two other 4-year-old bucks and a couple other really good up and comers. And I got an idea, like he was still in that front portion of the property. And I'm like, I have an idea. We put a game plan, me and my buddy, we put a game plan together for the following night. We thought the wind would be correct because there wasn't a ton of hill or uh, props that would potentially cause swirling.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the wind did die down and thermal started sucking in a different direction. So my buddy and I were hunting
Mm.
together because we were trying to film a little bit. But we
Yeah.
got down like 45 minutes before close, and we went like 100 yards away into a standing cornfield that we just watched. Uh, he unfortunately did come out, or fortunately, but there were two other 4-year-old bucks that did come out. They walked right. We left our tree stands because we were using a running gun setup. We left our tree stands at the tree. They walked right past them. So like we had a good game
Yeah.
plan, but those thermals, when the wind died and the sun went away, like those thermals unfortunately pulled our scent the wrong direction. So
Yeah.
we pulled out, made the right call, and then I just had to wait for the next opportunity when the wind was going to be correct. So I think it was a week later. Um, it was day one of the red moon. We had maybe pictures of him for a few days. Tangle, and this year, by the way, he turned into back to his mainframe 8. He had a split brow tine on his right side, and
Yep.
his left side still had that palmation. So it had his brow tine, a G2, a G3, and then a palmated abnormal point that was
Yes.
kind of on inside of his G3. So super unique. Uh, really, I don't know, really cool buck. Just a big frame, really big frame. At this point, he's a 5-year-old this year, 5.5-year-old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's
I'm looking at a photo of him right now, and I can just tell from the body of that deer, he's definitely mature. And yeah, wow, that palmation, that's a really cool feature there.
yep, it's super unique, and I was super pumped. And again, just having history with this year just adds that much more, excitement and feels rewarding. When you do get an opportunity at an animal like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So when does your season start there in Wisconsin?
I think it's typically it's between September 12th and like September 20th. It's always a Saturday that's in there. Um, so like second or third Saturday of September is when it starts.
Okay, and this hunt that you just told me about, where you had to move because of the wind, what roughly what date was that?
That was opening day, so I think this year it was the 13th, September 13th. We did that.
Okay, and then how much longer did you hunt him before you finally got an opportunity and shot him?
I hunted one time a couple days later. Um, and I ended up because based what I learned from that first hunt in the tree stand when we had to get down, what I learned was if the wind is calm enough, there there was standing corn with some grass, like really tall grass. That was a pinch. Like this, there was a finger of woods that came down, and then there was a cornfield that went about 50 yards from the tip of this woods. So it was a 50-yard strip of alfalfa that they were going through. That was kind of their funnel.
Yeah,
And that first day when we had to get down, we were in the tip of that woods. The thermals sucked our wind the wrong way. So I made the game plan to try standing in that corn actually, where that tall grass was. I cut out a blind. Um, and first time I sat in there, I saw one of our mature bucks, he actually came out of the corn 5 rows behind me. It was
Wow.
pretty crazy. Yeah. Saw a really good 3-year-old. So now that was kind of it for the night. Went out there the following week. I think it was like September 24th or 25th. It was day 1 of the red moon.
Okay.
We hadn't had pictures of Tangle for probably 4 or 5 days, but I knew like red moon was something that I was studying this year, and I wanted to test that theory. So I was like, yeah, it's been a few days. I know he's feeding in this alfalfa still. I'm gonna go sit here day 1 of this red moon and see what happens. And sure enough, day 1 of the red moon, even though it had been around 5 days that we hadn't had a picture of him, had a good number of deer feeding out in the alfalfa. And right out of that tip of the woods, basically 15 yards from where my buddy and I had set up our tree stands, I hear sticks breaking. I look in there and I see his palmated side making a scrape
Oh
about 10
yeah.
yards in the woods. And I'm like, holy buckets, it's actually going to happen right now.
Yeah.
So I get ready. He steps out. He's like 47 yards, 48 yards. And he's like facing my direction because he came straight out towards that tip of the corn. And I'm like, all right, he's just got to turn broadside. I have my sights set, and for some reason, he looked around at all the other deer that were feeding out there, and he just that sixth sense that big bucks have for some reason,
Yep.
he didn't like it, and he just turned around and went back into the woods.
Wow. Wow.
So that that hurt a little bit, but I knew that I didn't bust him. It's just I kept checking my wind. I carry milkweed
Yep.
with, and I was throwing that before and after. I knew that was good. All the other deer that were in the fields, none of them blew. They just kept feeding. So like nothing was actually disturbed. It's just he didn't like that situation. I feel like a lot of people, have dealt with a mature buck just having that sixth sense, something's not right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting, and I actually had a couple encounters with the buck I shot this year before I shot him, and yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Just weren't wasn't quite right. Came in, wasn't spooked like you say, but just didn't necessarily like the area. But sounds like that didn't end up hurting you too much.
No, yeah. So I think the next couple of weeks, like I was very careful with where I hunted and when I hunted. I have 3 kids, so I can't go out every afternoon, type of thing. And
Yeah.
I have work to do as well, so I'm very particular um, on the conditions. And I think I maybe hunted 2 other times, maybe 3 other times from that point of me seeing him. Um, there was one, there was 2 days in a row where I got a picture of him on a Sunday night, daylighting. So Monday was the same
Mm-hmm.
conditions. I went to that spot. Unfortunately, I didn't see him, but I saw another 4-year-old buck and a really good 3-year-old buck, and this was over a watering hole up in the timber. But while I was
Yeah.
at that stand, he then daylighted 300 yards down the ridge at another pond or another food plot that we have. So he did a little switcheroo on me that night. So the next
Oh.
night, um, I went to that stand, and my buddy came to the stand that I had sat and saw that 4-year-old. So with our property, with us developing it the past 5 years, that night in particular, which I'll give you a little foreshadow. It was not the night that I killed, but that night in particular, I have never felt more confident that either me or my buddy were going to kill a buck that night than I've ever been. And my buddy did end up killing one of those 4-year-olds where I had sat the previous night.
Yeah.
Um, I unfortunately did not see I didn't see Tangle that night. I didn't get any pictures of him. So with him killing my buddy killing a buck, kind of let the woods settle for a little bit.
Yep.
And the next time that I hunted, I got a picture of Tangle again on a Monday morning, like maybe 45 minutes before daylight, and it was below, right below where I had the daylight pictures of him the week prior.
Yeah.
So I had the right wind, and it was a good amount of wind. Like I prefer to hunt when it's like 10 miles per hour, so you have good wind cover accessing your stand.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I snuck into that stand, which is the same one that my buddy killed out of. But this was 6 days later,
Mhm.
and it was a started off as a relatively slow night. Had a little buck come by, had a doe come by, and a half hour before close, um, I hear two deer sprinting through the woods, and I have this doe squirt out on a logging road 10 yards away from me, and 15 yards behind her, there he was.
Yeah.
He was chasing her, and then he stopped, so he's like 35 yards away through some brush. He started making a scrape, and he was actually snort wheezing at this little buck that was closer to me,
Wow.
and, he I didn't wanna put my rangefinder on him because he was kinda facing my direction, so I waited. He turned broadside, ranged him at 35 yards. By the time I could, like, get my bow set up, he was making another scrape, and I could only see his butt. So,
Yeah.
had to wait it out, and then he just started walking straight away, and
Wow.
I made a gutsy move, a very gutsy move, but I felt confident enough in it. So, like, since he was snort wheezing at this little buck, you know, he was on the aggressive side. He had an aggressive manner to him
Yeah.
that night. So I snort wheezed at him myself.
Really?
Yep. So this is October 13th.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's early, relatively early to be doing any calling. And
Yeah.
he responded in a very ticked off manner. Like he started breaking every stick that he possibly could.
Really?
Started making, yep, just
Wow.
breaking every stick, making scrapes, and I watched him rub. It had to be a I don't even know, a 20-inch wide oak tree
Wow. Wow.
while he was, you
He
know,
was
just in this manner.
he was not
Yeah,
happy.
he was
Yeah.
ticked. So
And
he was still walking away from me.
how far away is he at this point?
At that point, he was probably like 45 yards,
Okay.
45 to 50 yards. But unfortunately, like he was just making his presence known, you know, to the deer that he thought he was responding to. And
Yeah.
he ended up making a big loop. I lost sight of him, and he made a big loop. And the only reason I know that is because he was still constantly just breaking every stick that he possibly could, you know, scraping up the leaves. And I could just listen to him make this big loop. And this took about a half hour. So he ended up working his way right to me. Like he popped out on that logging road 10 yards away from me, right where that doe popped out. But it
Yeah.
was not, no joke, the last minute of legal time. And I ended up shooting him at 9 yards while he was making a scrape right below me.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah,
um,
that's quite the hunt.
it was pretty incredible. And he took off. I felt good about the shot, but I didn't see exactly where it hit. So I backed out, called my buddy, called my wife. We waited like 3.5 hours, and found my arrow within 5 steps and had really good blood.
Yeah.
So I felt pretty good, but I did not hear him go down, and I couldn't see him because he took off.
Mhm.
And so we just went really slow, and he went about 200 yards, and he was stiff as a board. Like I hit him about perfect, like
Mhm.
right behind the shoulder, mid body. Like it couldn't have been much better placement than it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
However, I'm I'm 99% sure that it glanced down a little bit. It was a steep angle, but it definitely glanced down a little bit, and it actually came out the middle of his brisket.
Wow.
So it ended up cutting the very like front of the lungs and the arteries in his heart. So
Okay.
It came out like right where you look at a deer and you kind of see they have a colic at
Yeah.
their brisket. It came out almost like right there, like right in the middle.
Yeah. Wow. Hmm.
So he basically had a faucet opening on the bottom of his chest, so it drained really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he went about 200 yards, but it was a walking blood trail. We never once lost blood, and yeah, when we got to him, he was stiff as a board.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what kind of arrow setup are you using?
I have Easton Parallel Pros. Love those things. 340 spine, and I have their 50 grain match grade or is it 55 grain? I think it's 55 grain. Match grade inserts with four fletch with AAE air razors, the 2.3s. So I love a
Yep.
low profile vein.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I run the Easton Microlight knock.
And
So
what kind of broadhead?
that broadhead was the Beast Titanium 100 grain.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds like it did its job.
It did. It did. Yep. Pretty
Y-
pumped with it.
That's awesome. And what bow were you using?
The Arc 30.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. And
So
so you're saddle hunting? Is that what you were doing?
that that
And
was out of that was out of our one of our permanent stands that we had
okay.
set up a couple of years prior. So yeah, that was is the same stand that my buddy had shot his buck out of 6 days prior.
Okay. Yeah. And
Oh.
so I saw some of the pictures. You got some daylight photos, must have been the next day.
Yep. Yep. Following day I took him into work. We always have to do show and tell. So
Yep.
um yeah, it was a good time. Got some good pictures and then took him straight to the taxidermist.
Yeah, that's good. There's nothing better than some great pictures like that.
Yep.
Those are really good. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So lessons learned. I mean, it sounds like you were playing the wind a lot this year. Um, several different encounters there, and just playing it, and then that calling that really that's a pretty cool part there. But what's your biggest takeaway here?
Right. I mean, definitely going when the time is right. I think the Drurys talk about MRI, which means most recent information. Like, I
Yeah,
knew he was in the area. I knew the conditions were right. And I felt like with the correct wind cover, um, that I could get into this stand, and I would put myself in the game. So, and then
yeah,
also, like, you gotta judge that deer's manner. Again, like if he was acting a little more docile and he wasn't snort wheezing at that little buck, I wouldn't have done what I did.
yeah.
So definitely had to, read the situation, and it panned out for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. And you had said that he made a loop. Did he make a loop around you, or did he kind of go out away and back? And
He
I'm
went he went out and away. Like he was to my strong side for shooting, to my left side. So he
okay.
he went straight away from me and kind of looped to the front a little bit. But then he came right back to my strong side and popped out. It couldn't have been any better. Right where a right-handed shooter would want a deer to be. That's where he popped out.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Um, and then you said it was getting pretty close to shooting light. What kind of pin setups are you running to see in the dark like that?
I have the UltraView bridge lock sight with the horizontal 3-pin configuration, which are 15 thousandths diameter pins.
Okay.
Um, and um, it does have a sight light. I don't remember if I turned it on because I use a 3/16 peep, or at least I put that 3/16 peep. I have a Hamskea peep, so I can change all my apertures, but
Okay.
I think I had one of the largest options in there. It might have been 1/8. I don't know. It was one of the bigger inserts or apertures I could put in there, so
Yeah.
that way you can see in those
Plenty.
low light conditions.
Yeah, plenty of light. Yeah, that's great. Well, as far as mount goes, you getting a shoulder mount? What's your thoughts there?
Yep, definitely gonna get a shoulder mount. He's my biggest buck, so I'm super proud of him, and he's got a spot picked out in my living room already. So I'm
Awesome.
super super pumped.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, That's an awesome story, Daniel. Glad you're able to share that. Sounds like there's some good lessons to be learned, especially with reading body language and playing the wind and MRI, like you're saying.
Yep.
That's really awesome. Well, congratulations again. And sounds like that's one of the first kills with the arc.
I think it might have been up there. There were a couple people that had some kills in August, was just with mule deer hunting too. So, but whitetails, it might have been one of the first whitetails. That's very possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Daniel, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Mason.